Hi, I'm Jenn Chan, the head of studio for Darkpaw Games. As head of Darkpaw Games, I'm in charge of the development team and making sure that all the support staff and support groups are all kind of intertwined and all working towards the same goal. So the typical structure for a video game studio usually falls along to two big areas. There's the production aspect, and then there's also the development aspect. So under production, that's where you have CS, QA, marketing, and all those publishing services that you need. And then under development, there are the engineers, the designers, the artists, and they are the ones making the things that you actually see and interact and that you actually experience when you play these games. So a typical day, I usually wake up and I check my email and make sure nothing really caught on fire in the middle of the night, because these games are absolutely games. They go 24/7. There's no like off time for these games. So I make sure that everything is running smoothly, and then I go in and I look into the schedule of the day and I review all the different meetings that I have, as well as making sure that all of my people have what they need to continue on their day. So the reason why online games are different than traditional box games is that we make living, breathing worlds. When you aren't logged in, the game is still moving, it's still happening, players are still playing it, and even if there weren't any players there, the NPCs, the non-player characters, are still living their lives without you. So there's really no pause to our online games. They're all real time. So how we keep the game going for as many years as we have been, it's all about the community. We build the game for the players, and the players then bring us back feedback, and we incorporate that feedback, and then we deliver on those games again. And absolutely, our games, the biggest reason why they're still around so many years later is absolutely that community. Because it's that community that keeps the game going. It's that community that loves the game and continues to play 21 years after launch. So how we come up with ideas for games is absolutely, we take a little bit from everything in our lives. We take it from the players, we take it from internally, we look at old stories that we've written but we haven't fully delivered, or stories that we have delivered only half of the story, and it's like, okay, well, let's revisit that story. Let's actually give it a final ending to that storyline. So absolutely, we take from everywhere in the world, whether it's our personal experiences or other games that we're playing or the community itself. Anywhere can give us inspiration on any new content or storyline that comes from the game. In a nutshell, from end to end, a story in game design starts with an initial concept of what story are we trying to tell? What are we trying to resolve? Where's the conflict? Who's involved? Where are we going to be at? You establish the basic framework, and then from there, that's when we actually talk to each other and we go, okay, I want to tell this story. I want to tell the story of one of our major characters, or I want to bring in a new character. From there, from that concept phase, it goes into our design team where we talk about these things and we collaborate. And it's like, oh, that's an interesting take on that particular storyline. Let's incorporate that. From there, we involve the artists. And it's like, as we talk to the artists, it's like, okay, well, here's what's going on. I need a space that kind of conveys this feeling, and I want it to generally look like this. And then the designers tend to pull in sample reference images in which it's like, hey, I want it to kind of look like this, but a blend of this, but also a little bit of this. And as the designers and artists are collaborating and building out that area, it goes into the actual production phase, in which the artists have a good idea and they're developing the world itself, and the designers are writing those stories, and they start implementing them actually, so that way you can have something to interact with. Because they're games. They're not a passive form of media. They're not a passive form of entertainment. You absolutely get the most out of them by watching and interacting and playing with them. Once that's all actually implemented, it goes into the QA phase, in which we're testing bugs, tweaking numbers, so that way it feels balanced and the pacing is right, and then it's released. So how we figure out if a game is fun or too challenging is always a very tricky process. Absolutely, the first thing is to actually play it and experience it end to end. From there, because a lot of us tend to be experts at our own games, we tend to make it much more difficult than the typical player. And then so that's why the feedback from the players are very important. We play it, we open it up so that players can give us feedback and go, hey, please try this. And then as we're doing all these play sessions, all these test runs, we collect information. It's like, okay, why was this difficult? Was this difficult because it was unclear? Was it difficult because it's meant to be difficult and that the players don't have the appropriate items or statistics? Or was it too easy? It wasn't fun because it was just way too easy. It was just literally coming in and everything is all defeated and you've won, and that's obviously not fun either. So it's all a balance and absolutely incorporating feedback from as many people as we can. It really depends on which discipline that you want to focus in. Absolutely, if you want to focus in design, I would focus on story composition and logic. Ironically, a lot of designers on our team have a degree in computer science, and that's because designers on our team aren't just story writers, right? They also work in creating scripts to make the world actually interactive. And then if your focus is in art, absolutely focus on all of your traditional art forms, because that will teach you the core foundations that is needed from every artist. And then obviously if you're going into engineering, focus on your math, your science, any programming classes that you can get your hands on, absolutely. To prepare for a career, it's figure out what you really want to do, and then there are a lot of different opportunities, and it takes all kinds to make our games. How I started my career in video games all really came from a love of video games. Growing up with that, I absolutely fell in love with computer games. And ever since I was a child, I always wanted, how do I get into that? How do I make these? How do I make it so that way other people can also play these games? So I went through school, got my degree in computer science and theater, and I actually developed a decent career in computer science and theater separately. And one of the people that I worked with in school, one of my classmates that we worked on a project together, hit me up, sent me a little email saying, hey, when we were talking, you said you always wanted to get into gaming, and asked me, are you still interested? And he sent me a little job application for Everquest. And immediately sent in my resume, and the rest is history. Absolutely never give up, because if you keep at it, you can absolutely have a career in gaming. I know a lot of times I absolutely felt discouraged and I kept trying and trying and trying, but you only have to succeed one time to actually get in, right? You just keep on trying and keep making games. If your passion is art, if your passion is design, if your passion is storytelling, absolutely just go out and make games, because having a background of and self-drive to make these things absolutely is one of the most inspiring for me. Anytime I see that somebody comes in, it's like, oh look, I made all these games on my own. It's like, sure, they're small, but you actually worked at making it. So absolutely keep trying, keep keep learning new things and just never give up.